Hi, thank you so much for coming to my presentation about the 4 different parenting styles and why out of those 4 different styles, it's authoritative parenting that is the natural choice. In this presentation, we're going to be comparing and contrasting the different styles against one another. Then we're going to take a moment to delve into each of the styles and talk about its different components. Next, we're going to talk about why is authoritative parenting that's the most beneficial and why it is that way. Lastly, we're going to go over the key points that we would like you to take away from this presentation. So when we're talking about the different parenting styles, that term was coined in 1983 by McCoby and Martin. When we're talking about different styles, we're talking about how parents respond to both the responsiveness and the demandingness of towards their children. That can also be interchangeable with the terms warmth and expectation. So there are 4 different styles: inattentive, authoritarian, permissive, and authoritative. 2 of those sound very similar, authoritarian and authoritative. They have key differences. We'll talk about it all. So going first into inattentive parenting, this is also called neglectful parenting. It's low responsiveness and low demandingness. This parent is largely just uninvolved in their child's life. So this parent might provide basic needs, but doesn't truly act like a parental figure, gives no guidelines, no structure, and no love. You might hear a permissive or a neglectful parent say something like, "I don't really care." So I don't really care what time you go to bed. I don't really care if you're over at a friend's house all day, all night. I don't care. Next, we're going to talk about authoritarian. So this is authoritarian parenting. And this one is low responsiveness and and high demandingness. So an authoritarian parent really values obedience and wants their child to obey them based on their own position in the family. Not necessarily on merit. It's more on, like I said, position. And you might hear an authoritarian parent say something like, "Because I said so. You have to listen to me because I said so. I don't want to give any more context to the situation, and I don't want to discuss it." Next is the permissive parent. And a permissive parent has high responsiveness, high warmth, but really low demandingness. So you would see a parent kind of fawning and loving on their child, but giving no structure and no guidelines. So you might see this as like a parent who spoils their child. Next, we have authoritative parenting. Authoritative parenting has high responsiveness and high demandingness. So this is a parent that gives a lot of guidelines and a lot of boundaries, but provides a warm and safe space to navigate all of these guidelines. And you would hear an authoritative parent say something like, "Let's discuss this. Let's talk about why this is the way that it is." So we're going to delve more into inattentive and neglectful parenting. An inattentive parent, again, has low responsiveness and low control over the entire situation. Children don't get the emotional support that they have or that they need, and they have really few expectations from their parents. Their basic needs are going to be met sometimes. I mean, there really are neglectful parents that don't provide basic needs, but it can go up to basic needs, I guess. And they don't really offer a lot of supervision, guidelines. They're really hands-off parents, and this could be because they're focused elsewhere. They could be focused on their career or something as malicious as being focused on substance abuse or an addiction. So overall, inattentive and neglectful parenting has a wide range of consequences for the child. I mean, it's like growing up by yourself. Authoritarian parenting, on the other hand, has high control but low warmth. So the expectations aren't balanced with the needs of their children. It's kind of overpowering. There's a lot of order and structure, and the kids know how to operate under order and structure, but authority is not based on merit. There's no question of authority, and the position of the family determines where the power is. So in other words, the power is going to lie with the adults. And there's a high value in obedience. Disobedience likely leads to punishment. So it's a very punitive and can be kind of a scary parenting style for the child. It can lead to anxiety, mental health issues, poor academic standing. Overall, although the parent gets what they want in the moment, there are lots of consequences of this parenting style down the road. Permissive parenting has a high responsiveness and low control. So they might act loving and attentive, but they don't impose themselves as a parental figure, more as a friend. And they're accepting and affirmative, but they are really tolerant of impulses, and they don't help their child control themselves. And there are really few rules involved. So they avoid the confrontation, and the child has to regulate their own behavior, which is a really hard and big thing to do for a child. But, like we've all seen this kind of parenting. We might have even done this parenting ourselves once or twice. So like we've seen little Timmy go into Walmart and throw the world's largest tantrum for a toy and walk out with a teddy bear that's bigger than he is. It's an act of letting the child's impulses win. Authoritative parenting, on the other hand, has a high demandingness and high responsiveness and warmth. So they have high structure, like a good structure for kids to figure out how to operate in the world, but they allow for a safe space for the kid to kind of navigate this. It's also democratic and reciprocal. So that means that a child has a say in how this kind of goes. You aren't talking at the child, you're talking with the child. That's in contrast with authoritarian parenting, where due to the power structure of the family, the kid is just kind of at the mercy of a parent. Whereas in authoritative parenting, it's all going to be a discussion so that the kid understands what's happening. And authoritative parenting is nurturing. It's forgiving. And so if a kid does mess up, which is bound to happen, they don't fear that it's going to be punitive. Instead, they're going to be included in a process that allows them to grow. And in contrast with permissive parenting, and I guess you could even say inattentive, but inattentive isn't even in this race, to be honest. There are clear boundaries, and it's fair and consistent discipline. So their kid doesn't get to walk all over them in this democratic process. They are more equal. They're on more equal standing. But why is it that authoritative parenting works? There is so much evidence that kids need parental warmth to thrive. Nurturing, responsive parenting leads to better emotional, cognitive, and behavioral outcomes, which that makes sense. Kids, if they feel safe, they feel more comfortable to explore themselves, their identities, and they feel like their parents has their back. Authoritative parenting also uses something called inductive discipline. And this is a method of discipline that's found to aid kids in becoming empathetic, helpful, conscientious, kind to others, and it also promotes the development of morality, and a kid's risk for developing aggression or defiant behavior problems decreases. Now, why? Why does inductive discipline help with this? So, inductive discipline is essentially the practice of talking with your child about discipline and about their behavior instead of punishment or threats. So that could be seen as like sitting down and talking about how throwing the ball hit your friend in the face and why you don't want to hurt your friend. So we're going to put the ball down instead of doing a consequence that isn't related to that act, like having a timeout or getting a spanking. Inductive discipline, again, focuses on reasoning. It shapes behavior by providing the reasoning behind the act instead of, like I said, an unrelated consequence like a timeout and not discussing the problem at hand. Emotional regulation is also a big part of inductive reasoning. Inductive discipline. So learning how to manage those big emotions instead of suppressing them. Lastly, it's going to be empathy and how actions are going to affect others and wanting to be internally motivated to be kind to others. So what are the positive outcomes that are positive outcomes that are positive outcomes that are a consequence of authoritative parenting? There's a lower probability of substance abuse. There's a high level of morality. There's secure attachment. There's autonomy, independence, resourcefulness, self-control, conflict resolution, pro-social behavior. There's just 1,000,001 studies that have looked at authoritative parenting. And so there's so many. I'm sure if you looked, you would find even more of these amazing consequences that occur because of authoritative parenting. But we'll focus on these. And what we see is a trend of being secure in oneself and also being kind to others and succeeding in social settings. And these all tie back to the core of authoritative parenting and inductive discipline. We see that reflected in inductive disciplines, reasoning, emotional regulation, and empathy. So that is why it's authoritative parenting that leads children to be successful, because parents are acting as a model of these behaviors. Now, realistically, not every parent that strives to be an authoritative parent is going to do it perfect 100% of the time. Or is it appropriate 100% of the time? Because that's just how the world works. So each parent might be authoritative 80% of the time, permissive 10, authoritarian 10. But no parent's going to be 100% every single time. Here's the takeaway that I would love for you to leave with, and that's that authoritative parenting is widely considered to be the best parenting technique that you can use because of the inductive discipline that's involved in it, and that overall parents are able to act as good models for their children, to be kind to others, to handle their big feelings, and to reason with themselves and with others. No parenting style is perfect, and no parenting style is perfect for every situation, and no parent sticks strictly to one style. So obviously there's going to be some wiggle room, but overall, authoritative parenting is the best choice for any parent because it imparts wonderful skills on children. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time and for listening to my presentation about the 4 different parenting styles and specifically authoritative parenting. Thank you.